Hi everybody, this is Susan from the Beverly Library again, and welcome to the 6th Beverly-Waterford walking tour. And actually, we're leaving the walking tours and going to a hop, skip, and jump tour. I found some places that were off the beaten path that I thought needed to be shared. And so we're going to start where it all started, and this is out at the, well, now it's the Grange Hall, but this was the location of the first grist mill in the Middle or the Ohio Valley. And so the history of this location is, well, John Dodge was a scout for the Ohio Company. While out on his original visit to the Ohio Valley, Captain Dodge made camp one night in the Muskingum Valley. Near his campsite, he found a beautiful fall of water that could afford strong water power for a mill. Arriving in Marietta with the Ohio Company, he discussed the mill site with Major Hatfield White and Colonel Robert Oliver. These three officers formed a partnership which became the first corporation doing business in the Ohio Valley. These three men erected the first grist mill and sawmill, always known as Wolf Creek Mills. In short order, they had the mill and cabins built. When they went to prepare the fields, they noticed something odd. The land had already been cleared. And there were a few brambles and bushes, but one day they decided it was a good day to start a fire, and they burnt all the brambles and bushes out and only had to clear a few things. There's not really a reason why it had already been cleared, but it is believed that the natives had used this area for farming. And this actually saved the people of the area. In October of that year, there was a very hard frost, and the crops of Marietta and Belle Prairie areas were destroyed. The people of that area had to fully clear, and so their crops were actually destroyed during that frost. But the crops of Millsburg, which is what this area was called at the time, had a full month head start and had been harvested before the frost. So the crops of Millsburg were able to save the people of Marietta and the people of what will become known as Belpre. Also in July of that year, a Reverend Daniel Story visited. He held services under a large beech tree in the area, and this was the first sermon held in Waterford. Now, during the Indian Wars, the area was abandoned, but scouts would stop by to check on it, and they discovered that the cabins had been destroyed, but not the mills. There were even times that the mills were being used. Now, it's actually believed that the natives were trying to set a trap for the settlers. After the war, Dodge and Company returned, and the mill became very important to the area. People came from miles around to have their grain made into flour. Some came as far as Athens, and they would spend days in line waiting for their grain to be milled. The mill couldn't do wheat very well, but it could do corn, and the mill could do a bushel in 4 minutes when the water was high, which is actually not today. Okay, give me a second to walk over here. I'll show you the monument well, there's actually two monuments here. There's this big wheel and a plaque from here. And then we can come around the corner. And if I remembered I was going to do this, I should have cleaned it before I did this. But there is a plaque here, and it says, "This marker stands on the site of the first commercial grist and sawmills in Ohio, erected in 1789-1790 by Colonel Robert Oliver, Major Hatfield White, and Captain John Dodge, who settled near these mills. These mills served the Marietta and Waterford communities and were operated by Major White and his descendants from 1790 until after 1848. The mill stones mounted on the marker replaced the original stones and were in use until the mill was abandoned. The stones in the base of this marker were part of the original foundation of the old mill. And this was erected in on April 7th, 1938. Now, come on over here. We have this building, and it is home to the Waterford Grange. The Waterford Grange formed in 1873. Their first meetings were at night so they could use the light of the moon. The current buildings were erected in 1904, and they sponsored the first Waterford Fair. Okay, now I'm over here at the fairgrounds. The first fair was held in 1959. The fair was held in an open field over by the high school. There were no buildings, so tents were rented. This was also the first pony show in Southeast Ohio. In 1961, they moved to the Wolf Creek Recreational Grounds, which is where I am currently. And this was the first year of the tractor pull. To give you an idea how much the fair has changed over the years, in 1974, they had 3 hogs in the sale. It has grown from a 2-day fair to a 4-day fair. Through the years, there have been many events to delight the people of the area, from animal shows, tractor pulls, performers, dances, greased pig contest, a chicken catching contest, greased pole climb, motorcycle and ATV rodeos. In 1980, they had the first and only mud run, and many, many more activities. And actually, I usually go for the food. This has been called the Tractor Pulling Fair, and it has also been called the Family Reunion Fair, because that's usually when everybody comes back to the area to meet everybody and they sit around and talk. So that is the Waterford Fairgrounds. Give me a minute and I'm going to hop again. Okay, for our final stop of the day, we're over here at Waterford Elementary School, and there it is. So, Waterford Elementary School started as a 10-room unit, and it was dedicated in 1967. It was a school for K through 5, and over the years they've added on. In 1970 they had an addition, and then in 2003 they had another addition. So now they are an elementary and junior high school with a very large gym down there at the end. And if you keep going, there is the baseball and track field and football field. And that is going to be the end of today's hop, skip, and jump tour of Waterford. I will see you next week.